Okay. Hi, Sébastien.
Hello, sorry, I was busy reviewing a pull request and I forgot about the time.
The check all pull request?
Yes, the first pull request on Git.
Yeah.
And I have to rewrite all the comments. Well, the two comments I had added. Richard Garside is not here. Nope. But that's cool. Subjects. I have one for sure, two now. Git and the branching strategy.
Yeah. Do you want to make a demo of the of Git, or is it?
Yeah, I can show some things, and maybe some others can show some other things.
Yeah, we had some questions about, okay, well, I have my own fork of Orchard. How do I move that to Git? So if we can provide some guidance around that.
If you can. Yeah, we'll see with the obvious things and then the specific cases later. Did I save it? I just don't want to lose my work.
Oh, and we also had a question which was why does it give a 404 when you go to the URL of the repository?
Oh yeah, because
which is a stupid question, of course. But...
Maybe it was stupid from my side to publish the Git URL instead of a website.
Yeah.
But it was inside. Yeah.
So the URL works if you use a Git client.
Yes, that's the clone URL. In Mercurial, I think if you go to the URL directly, you see a raw HTML with the files, but Git doesn't provide that by default.
Yep.
Maybe your Codeplex doesn't want to provide that by default. And,
so it just gives a 404 instead.
Yes.
Which can be resolved and safely. But yeah, that's normal.
People who want to blame other ones for anything, yeah.
I'm trying to impersonate Rob here.
Who? No. Okay, should I share? I will switch my screen first.
What inspired the that's bold.
So are you sharing, Sebastian?
My link crashed. I was changing my monitors. So I will share now. Desktop. Okay. This is the pull request, and and comments are done. Can we subscribe to pull request to changes? I think we don't, and that is sad, because if you make changes to the pull request, I don't know there have been changes. It's like I have to check every day if there are changes on the pull request. So this is sad. Well, so if you go to source code, we know it's Git because we have a master branch here. All the other branches are still there, and you can still see the history. I have already pushed something, which is I have dated the ignore files to ignore the, well, it was a .hg ignore before, now it's a .git ignore file which has been pushed. So it's based on the one we can find on the person project, which gather all the kind of git ignore file we can find, and I've added some Orchard specific exclusions. And I pushed it to 1.x and no, sorry, to master, like the old default, and I merged master into 1.x just to get back this change on 1.x. Okay, so just one change on master because everyone wanted the ignore file, and I pushed back on 1.x so that we can also use it on 1.x. So the tools, this is the tool I'm using right now. I might change tomorrow or whatever. Sometimes I'm also using the command line. This is Git extensions. So you just type Git extensions on Google and you will find it. The UI is quite simple. It's like the Tortoise HG. We have the history and we can see the branches. And I can commit like in Tortoise HG. And this is for pulling and this is for pushing. Same thing as in Tortoise HG, so nothing is specific here. And when you click on one change set, you see it here and all the files which have changed, like exactly like on Tortoise HG. Difference is when you click commit, you will see all the files here which have changed, and instead of checking them, like click on a checkbox, you have to stage them. Like you select the files you want, stage, and this will be your commit. A commit message and commit, done. And if you want to push right after commit, commit and push. So this is exactly the same workflow as in Mercurial, or at least as in Tortoise HG.
Does it also have a window with folders where you can view all of your repositories?
All of your repositories, yes. If you go to the main, you got all the repositories here, and when you open it, like let me open a new window, the first dialog is this thing. You see, you can open repositories and you see all your recent repositories, and you can add more.
Okay, but there's no folder structure you can maintain if you wish.
Oh yeah, I see. Like in Tortoise HG, no.
Yeah.
You've got the recent repositories. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
My things also is that it's included with GitHub. So if you have some repositories on GitHub, it can be easier to manage them from here. And you can do anything you want in Git. Checkout is like update in HG to go to another branch. And you can create branches, for instance. So
it may be useful to try to find a web page that does the Mercurial to Git translation. The concepts are the same, but sometimes they have different names.
There is a Git for Mercurial users page. must be. Nice things also is that you can access directly the git bash if you want to use the command line for some things that you are more confident with the command line. Branches or whatever. There are some commands you can't do by the UI, so you might need the console app. So I don't want to go deeper because you are not supposed to go deeper in these ones. Manage your remote. So a remote in Git, it's important. A remote is another clone of the same repository somewhere else. Like Codeplex is a remote for your local clone. Okay. And the origin here you see is the name of the remote where I cloned this repository from, which means origin here is Codeplex, the Codeplex repository.
Yeah, and that's a convention that more or less maps to the default that you had in Tortoise HG.
Default.
Yeah, you know, in the equivalent of remote is that I don't remember how they called it in Tortoise, but you had this this window where you could see all the remote repositories as well, and usually you only had default, which was Codeplex, but you could add other ones.
Okay.
So default here is the equivalent of origin.
I don't see what you mean. Oh, this one you mean? No.
No. Okay. Oh, so open.
No.
Do you have another one? Okay. So you see those you have the icon for committing, and you have your point.
Yeah. This one. I was clicking on this one to see. Okay.
Yes.
This one.
Yes.
This one. I was using this one for the remotes. Yeah, but pulling from and. Okay. So maybe you could also use another simpler and simpler tool. The GitHub, do we have it? GitHub, I don't have it. The GitHub for Windows tool, because it works with any Git repository. So, let me see.
And of course, there is Source3 that has the advantage of doing both Mercurial and Git. So for the transition, it's kind of nice. That's what I'm using right now. I'm not sure I like it that much. I find it a little slow, and the UI is kind of cluttered and a little confusing.
Every time I try to install it, I stop using it because it's too complex for me.
I mean, it's complex and slow. It looks like it was written in Java actually.
Maybe.
That's probably what it was written.
Yeah, maybe. GitHub is the simplest way to do that. Just has a sync button, and it pushes and pulls your work, and you can still see branches, and it's very nice. The simplest.
It's nice, but it's simple, but maybe it's a little too simple.
Maybe a little too simple. It depends what you want to do. If you just want to pull the latest source code,
it's fine for that. That's what I use when I work on the documentation. There is nothing really complex going on there.
Yep. So that's it about the tools. Then you use the one you feel more comfortable with. And something important to say is about the branching strategy that we can use now. I will make a proposal. So because we are on Git now, we can create more branches without the risk of having it for the lifetime of the project. Which means what I would like to do is we still have the master branch, which will be the released version, the stable version, the official version, so like we did with default. We still have a 1.x branch, which is the current development cycle until the next release. So paint to the rescue. Okay, so let's say we have master, okay, and okay, master evolves, and then we go to one.x. Okay, that's where we work. And so that's what the case. And then at some point I changed master to add, for instance, the git ignore, or let's say something important into master, and then we can merge it to one.x just to take the changes from the master to one.x. Okay, so we can also still develop on one.x. And from one.x, when we want to create a feature, I like the guys who have access to the repository, or anyone who wants to create a pull request or a new feature on Orchard, to start from one.x and create a new branch. A new branch, so which, for instance, will be called feature. Wow, let's try to do it nice. Feature / foo. Okay, and works on the branch. The nice thing with that is that in Codeplex you can ask for a pull request for a specific branch. So you will say, I want to make a pull request for feature foo to one.x. So you want the feature foo to be pulled back to one.x. In the meantime, one.x can still go on. Okay, and when it's accepted, it will be merged. Okay, here. Merge, or maybe actually rebased. We'll see. Okay, and one.x will go on. The nice thing with that is, let's say we want to develop a big module like the media management, which will take months and months. Okay, we will start a new feature branch on one.x because we want to use all the changes from one.x and to be compatible with the next version. So we start the branch and we work on that. And if we want to release before this to be done, we can still merge one.x to master. Okay, master will just take those changes, and the work on the feature branch can still go on, and it won't interfere with releasing a new version of master. And then when we open back one.x, at some point we will merge the feature to one.x when it's ready, when it's stable, and then back to master. So even internally, if you want to do some work on some feature which will take longer than one simple commit, you create a feature branch, and this way we can rebase it, and later on we can delete the branch. Rebase or merge, and then delete the branch if we rebase. Okay. So this is the idea, even for pull request. So when you want to create a pull request or to fix a bug, you don't start with master, you start with one.x and create a branch. Questions?
So you say create a branch for bugs as well, or?
Yes, if it's a big bug and you want to work, if you want to be able to, even locally, you could commit locally on a branch.
Right, yeah, okay.
This way we don't have to merge every time we do a change set. So in Mercurial we will not do that, because every time you create a branch, it's there for the lifetime of the repository.
Sure, but what we do right now, if we have an issue, a small
it's okay. One.x. If you can fix it and it's stable, there is no risk that it can push the release. Like, let's say we have an urgent release and you start something on one.x, but it's adding bugs, like it's not finished. Don't put it on one.x.
Sure, that makes sense. Then
that's the idea.
Okay.
And if you just have an idea also, for instance, or I want to start something, you create a branch, feature foo, done. And later we can delete it if you want.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also for pull request, like even if you're not sure about something, instead of creating a fork and whatever. For instance, for
Yeah,
your
that's
case
really
in
nice.
particular, you create a branch and you create a pull request on this branch.
Hmm.
So we can comment on this branch. That will be nicer.
That's really nice. Yeah. Okay.
And yet it's still in the repository. It's there. So you see.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because there is an issue I would like to discuss when we get to it. But then at least I can push it to a separate branch instead of creating a fork.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, forks are still necessary for external contributors who don't have access to the repository.
Right.
If you have access, use the branches. It's okay.
Okay.
For instance, if we go to nuget.org. Oh, sorry. nuget.codeplex.com. Source code. And we look at the branches. Look at that. Dev, break fixes. So we have called it 1.x because it's targeting next version. Usually they call it dev or develop. It is a dev branch where we develop. We didn't call it dev in before releases because we already have a dev branch which contains a lot of goodies that someday might go into the main repository. But here I think they have called it dev. I'm not sure. Oh no, they call it for the next version. So it's like a 1.x, but they specifically named the version. So the next one is 2.7. So they have this 2.7 branch. And if they want to work on some feature, you see, they all have their own branch and they work on it. And it's on the main repository. And when they want to merge, they create a pull request so that anyone can see the suggested changes and comment on it and overwrite. And in the end, they merge it to dev or master. I assume to dev or 2.7, for instance. Here we don't have the graphical view of the branches, but that's how they work. If I go similar, we can see the branches. Where is the branches graph? You see here they even have, so when they want to fix a bug, they open a branch for this bug and they name it with the name of the bug, the number of the bug. And then when they want the bug to be pulled and reviewed by users, they create a pull request and people can comment on the pull request. And then they merge it and they delete the old branch.
Okay, that's nice. Should we use a similar naming convention? So for features, we say feature slash
something,
pull.
yeah.
And for issues, maybe issue slash number.
Yeah, issue bug slash something, yeah, something meaningful.
Yeah. Okay.
Where is the branches here? There used to be a graph where we could see all the path.
Sebastian, how come you're not demoing this on Codeplex?
I can. There is not this feature.
Yeah.
There are 200 people on the GitHub website. There are not 200 people on Codeplex website. That's it. But look at that. If I want to talk with the community, I can go to discussions. How do you do it in GitHub?
I don't know, you do it on Facebook. I don't know.
No. And look at that. I can even have awesome ratings on my project. Things. What happened?
Oh.
There is no recommended release. What is that? Seriously? Seriously? Oh, what? Who broke that?
Wow.
Weird.
So what's the naming for a branch for a bug fix?
We could have issue / the number or blog / number. Might be more consistent with Codeplex because it's issued here. And sometimes it's not a bug, okay. It's like a task or...
Okay.
Since I will create one very soon. Questions here or no questions here? Bug fix. I don't really care right now. It's what you want. It can be even, hey dude, look at that / WTF or whatever. It will be removed at some point. So if you're not sure about what you're doing, you can try locally.
There is a discussion on the chat about using a / instead of a dash. Who cares? Why would you use a /?
Oh, so interesting maybe to mention on Git, there's what they call workflows, okay? Development workflows. The most famous one is GitFlow.
Oh, so it is a Git convention to use a /.
Yes.
Okay.
So the GitFlow, for instance, is a very famous workflow for managing your development and your branches. So the main idea is that you have a main branch on the, this is a blue one here, okay, but you just see it in the end. Okay, let's go to the end. Master is the blue one, okay, this is like a release. And if you want to do hotfixes or security fix, you create one which is called hotfix / something and goes directly back to master because it's a very fast one. And you have the release branch where you merge every release ready change, and the develop branch where you work on, and based on the develop branch your feature / something. Okay, so this is a very used workflow for Git, and but for it it's almost it's one branch too complex, so we don't need this release branch. We go back to master when it's done. The develop one is the one that takes code. Also they use merge, I think. Rebase to the rebase. Yes, it doesn't rebase feature branches, and I think we can do rebase. Yeah. Another one is the GitHub workflow. They call it the GitHub flow. Yeah, GitHub flow. Yeah, this is a simpler one, but for instance, yeah, they have less branches than that. So what I'm proposing here is a mix between GitHub flow and GitFlow, because we have less branches than GitFlow, and yet we can rebase, and we push directly to master whenever we have a release. So that's a mix of the two. In source tree, they have, and what happens with those workflows, Git workflows, people create commands which are very explanative of what they do in the workflow, like git space, I don't know, sync, which will pull and push, or git / create feature, which will create a dedicated branch with the name of the feature, with a feature / prefix, things like that. So it streamlines the development with Git. You can do that if you want to. exactly. GitFlow. Yeah, Daniel is suggesting a release / something, but then it's like having a release branch. What else to add? Git. I think I've covered everything. Pull requests, you still need forks if you're an external contributor. And even if you create a fork, create a branch on 1.x, okay? And ask for pull requests between your branch and 1.x. And Adrian is not here, but I assume we have to update the documentation. For the contributors. How do we contribute? Oh, contributing. Yeah, we have to update it and explain which branch and where. Maybe we should rename to dev sometime. Don't know. Yep. No more questions? Next topic.
I have a little demo of something small.
Don't go naked, please.
Not today. Next time maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys have come across that need as well. Sometimes you want to create news items, which you can do, of course. But there's no easy way to group it. Of course, you have projections. Some people use the blog module. They create a couple of blogs and then use that. But you know, these things aren't really a blog post. So, Sebastian, you mentioned a while back something called buckets. So that's a term I
buckets.
Yes. So
you did that?
I created, yeah, but I'm not sure if it has same features what you envisioned, but
we talked about it. You should have done that directly.
I probably should have, but I don't know if I did. But I did something else, or I did something which I would like to show you guys.
Maybe we can extend it. Maybe that's almost the buckets, and you just add 2 or 3 features, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So
should I explain the notion of buckets?
Please.
Buckets is list plus. I think list. So the idea is that as Sipke explained, sometimes you want to group items. Example. I get this example from Paul Sarkey, who made lots of websites on Orchard, for instance, the Chef and Brewer or something like that, and lots of them. Well, the idea is that he wanted to do a hotel website, but a chain. Yes, a chain, and for each hotel there are rooms. So it's like actually creating rooms and grouping them by hotel. Okay, and there is just one level. It's a one to many. Like blogs, you create a blog and you have posts. And in Orchard you can create multiple blogs, and for each of the blog you can have posts, and you have a nice administration for that. So the idea is to generalize the blog thing by calling it a bucket. I want to create a bucket called
Can
blogs.
You explain how it's different from container and
yes,
Containable?
it's container and Containable is just the implementation of it. And the idea is to reflect it in the admin like blogs. So you create a bucket called news, and you'll be able to create a new news category, like you can create a new blog. This is the idea. The integration is
but you mean the implementation is actually using existing container?
It could be, exactly. It could be.
Yeah, that's what I did. What you described and implemented using container, using the common parts, so something as a container. So there's a module called buckets. And we have a new menu item which enables us to create these buckets. So let's create a news bucket, for example. Buckets can have parent buckets, so there you can create hierarchies. For example, if you create blogs, which can you can create a blog bucket as well, which which has the blogs bucket as its parent, and you can specify the content type for the items of this bucket. So in the case of news, we want a content type called news item. This will create one on the fly with default parts, but you can of course configure that further. You can add it to the admin menu, maybe.
So is it an extension of what actually containers and containables are?
More or less, yeah. It's okay. Like a list, but maybe I think it's nicer. It's nice to be able to manage content like this. So right now we have a news bucket, and we can create news items. It automatically created added the outer route part to configure it so that the routing is nice as well. And similarly, we can create, as Sebastian mentioned, we could mimic blogs. So we create a new bucket called blog, which contains a list of blog items.
I'm wondering if we could have a better icon for buckets.
Oh, probably.
Something like...
if you call it buckets, yeah.
Yeah, a bucket.
Yeah. In terms of UI, I would have liked to... Yeah, maybe that's what you have already. If technically we could mimic dynamically what we have for blogs. So when you click on, you have the blogs on the admin, and when you click on blogs, you see all the name of the blogs. And yeah, configuring is defining what is the container and what is the contained type.
Yeah.
And maybe yes, we're using container and containable to list things. So that's kind of updating the list module actually. But list is different. Bucket is really a composition. So when you have one item, it can be owned by only one. It's composition. I think list is more like aggregation. One item can be different buckets. This is
exactly. In this case, you can't.
Yes.
Item is can only have one. Be assigned to one bucket.
Yeah.
So I created a new content type called blog, but itself should be able to contain blog posts. So we go and edit this blog content type, and we add the bucket part to it.
Bucket part.
Yeah, this will turn a blog into a bucket itself.
Okay.
So that means if we go to our buckets and we go to the items of blogs, we'll create a new a blog bucket of type. Hang on. We'll create a new bucket called of type blog. So we have two types of buckets now. We have the bucket content type and a blog content type. We'll create a new one called blog. Bucket blogs, and this one will hold blog posts. And we want to show this will be a single blog in this instance. So we'll call it blog or my blog maybe. This is still just a prototype, so there needs to be things done to the UI, so maybe to visualize the hierarchy, because blog it's a bucket in its own right, but it's a child bucket for blogs. So when we go to my blog, we can create new blog posts. And so forth. What's also nice, maybe if you have a lot of pages, you could create a new bucket and call it pages. And it will contain a list of page content items. We'll show it on the menu. Push you to maybe configure the menu a little bit further. And right now it doesn't have any pages, but there's a button here which will import existing page content items. And basically what it does, it will update the common parts container property to be set to this pages bucket, which is nice. And also, a bucket, it's like a magnet. So if you create a new page, like an about page, because there's a bucket configured to hold the page content type, it will automatically add it to that bucket as well. And of course, because there's a bucket part, you can create custom bucket types. So you can, for example, create a block bucket, which we have, and attach more parts to it, such as a body part and to represent the description of the block, for example. So it's flexible. There still needs to be work done to better represent hierarchies. But yeah, I wanted to show this to you guys and gather some feedback, whether it's useful or if you would do something differently. Sebastian, you had a couple of ideas.
In my notes, I would rather extend the containable and container parts to manage that, or to fix the issues we have with those parts, and enhance this with the admin UI management, because there are so many ways of representing it actually. Because here you see you have got my blog, and you can create a blog post. Mm-hmm. This is kind of different than what the blogs UI is today. We have blogs, and then we can create blogs under.
Which is the same here. We can configure that bucket to appear on the menu. So this is blogs.
And then you can create blog posts. Okay, blogs. Okay, sorry, instead of blog post. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, because the way you demoed it, it almost looks like you're inventing content types.
It's not in
news pages. That looks like news and pages content types, except that you have a menu entry, right?
Yeah. Well, basically that's more or less that's it, right? To be able to group a type of a content type into a list.
I'm not sure it's very hardy to let people type the name of a content type inside and tell them I'm about to create a content type.
Yeah.
You know, in for instance, in taxonomy, it's different. You create a taxonomy, and for each usage, it will create a content type, a term content type, but it will never tell you it. So, just for extensibility's sake, maybe it will be better to just say create bucket and select which type of the bucket for the container and the containable part.
Yeah. That's what I did initially, yeah. But then you will have to create that content type upfront.
We know.
Can you try again?
Well, sorry, but just think about who will create those buckets. It's not the end user, it's the developer of the website which will say, okay, I know the user needs this type of buckets containing this type of data. So you can tell them, go create on the content definition pane instead.
That makes sense, yeah.
I was going to go back to the name buckets. Can you try in layman's terms to describe what buckets is? Because the problem is, again, we get stuck in orchard terminology and engineering, and then nobody knows what the hell a bucket is, and it could be very useful. Like, I mean, is it more content grouping? Is it, what is it?
Yeah, I'd say it's content grouping. So basically it's a strongly typed list. So you have a list of things, a list of content items, but you get to configure that list to hold it. But it's not exactly the same as the list module.
It's not really grouping. It's really contained. So.
Organizing it.
Oh,
Is
okay,
it?
yeah.
Well, I understand what it may be doing on the back end, but in the menu on the left-hand side for a user, it should tell them what it's doing, irrespective of what it's doing on the back end.
These menu items like blogs, pages, my blog, news. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Right, the issues buckets.
So this is more of an admin feature.
Yes, we target developers and content designers. We don't target end users. The end user will see blog and blog posts. He will never see bucket. The website developer will see bucket, and it has to make sense to him. A bucket or whatever it's called, but I'm not sure it's really, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to continue on the meeting on this, and I can talk to Sipke more about it, and we can ideate around what the name should be. But just you in and of itself, just by saying whatever it's called, speaks to me, right? It doesn't really. It needs to. Buckets doesn't really define what it does. I mean, yes, you're putting it into a bucket, okay, but
Can't we just call it containers and just make extend the containers to have this kind of functionality in the core? Because it's the evolution of containers seems to me like that. So it's
That's what I said.
containers,
But calling it container is the same issue as buckets for Ian, I'm sure.
I'll speak with
Already
Sipke
exists.
some more and see. It's right. It does already exist, and it creates more confusion. I'll chat with Sipke about it. We're not going to hold up a meeting on it.
It looks a little embarrassing how many times we've attempted that. We have containable. We had lists. We have taxonomies and queries that kind of play a similar role in some different scenarios. Maybe more clarity and narrowing down on exactly what we want out of this would be useful. I'm a little confused right now.
The reason I started this is because I want to be able to create news items and manage them nicely from the admin. And as far as I know, there isn't really a nice way to do that without writing a custom module to do so.
I don't know about that. If you just want a news content type and you want a menu entry for it, you can install vendor industries and activate the content menu. That will give you each content item under the content header.
But then you need to, let's say you have two categories of news, you need two content types. Here, you just need one content type, news category, or news type, bucket. News, you call it news, sorry. And you need to create as many content types because.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I probably want to attach a part to my news bucket, such as an intro, text, or description, like we have with blog. If you create a new blog, you get to enter a description. So I really wanted a container for my content types.
And
you want a news container content type and a news under it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that should be implemented using container.
Yes, and containable. That's what I said. Yeah. Even if you have to extend it to fix it.
And it would be nice if
which I don't think we have.
Result in having a new admin menu item like
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So creating the blogs module, like we said, remember. Ideally, the blogs module can be created with list.
Yeah, the blog module shouldn't exist.
Yes, that's why that's the goal of this thing. So you can create as many containers as you want, and they will appear there as a first-class citizen. And it's not about tagging; it's about containing.
Yeah.
I am this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And not this is categorized as that, which is different in the UI and the concept.
Yes.
So, I think it's just that, this is a preview of the feature. It will be good in the end. It will be more than good because it's good already.
Yeah, it's really just a prototype.
And I also, like you, I've seen that for some different customers, this need. Taxonomy is something, they use taxonomy, but sometimes they want containability. Choose from hotel and rooms. Hey, I just want to add a room to this hotel. I don't want to add anything and tag it to this hotel. No.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's it for this thing. Maybe if we do triage, I have a small issue. Can we discuss it quickly?
So I've tagged, I think, something with high priority for 171.
Okay.
If we think something is very important, let's tag it with high, so we can focus on it. And if it's really high, we have to release 171.
Did you have any other things to look at before we do triage?
Not for me.
Sebastian?
New websites?
Sure.
Lots of them. Sharing. Desktop. I will try to paste the list and I will open it on my window. If it works, it works. It seems to work. Which means I can then them. Yep. Nice one, this one, athletes in action. It's nice because when you go.
So it's about athletes that don't do anything?
I don't know. I don't care about the concept.
Athlete in action?
You can up, you go down.
It reminds me of Jon Stewart's Democracy in Action.
This one I assume is from can't remember his name. Sorry, Carl, I think, from New York. They do a lot of websites like this. 10thdegree.com. Just corporate one. Nice.
Clean.
Funny. Simple, efficient. Kind of lots of content. Rough Club. Carousel. Menu. Pictures. Ooh. Taxonomies? Must be a taxonomy. Nice one. Ford. Selling cars. IHD. Television channels. opcopy.co.za. Facebook. There are links to Facebook. fxpn is big. Containable, French one. It's like entrepreneur portal. mcn.com.au. I will check if it's really Orchard because no, it's not Orchard. Yeah, that's the case whenever it's from Australia and it's tagged as Orchard. It's just sometimes just the Orchard company who made it, and then it's a false positive. Dave Sinclair selling cars again. This one is from Brazil. Very nice. And the last one is Russian. It seems to be a very well-known website in Russia based on the statistics. But I don't know what it does. Insurance. Yeah, lots of websites and lots of websites. So we released 1.7 and we got like 10% more websites in 2 days. I don't know what happened, but and it's still going up, so it's very nice. At this rate, in 2 months, we have more websites than WordPress, so it will stop. Good. That's it. Lame triaging. I have 2 bugs as high for 1.7. This one I don't remember.
Same.
I assume
it's the same issue. It's the same issue way when you disable output caching, so you know where to look.
Bye. Yeah. People are bothering me in the office. So Sipke, what is the number of the issue you wanted to
It's
open?
Number 19844.
Oh, this one. So give a pull request. I look at the code. I looked at the code because you made a pull request already, I think, didn't you?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, and I closed it. Because we moved to Git, so I closed every pull request saying please reopen it.
I don't think actually that I did. Did I? I'm not sure if I created a
So this will be a good.
Yeah, I'll create a branch and push it to that one.
So do you want me to activate? It's active. It's in Medium on 1.7.1. So create a branch. Do a pull request, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'll do that. I can quickly summarize this issue. It's about when a recipe executes, it happens in its own context. So whenever you signal a cache, it will not signal the cache outside of that context, and that's the issue here. And the way to do it is by touching h_restart.txt using the by just triggering the event. And it works. I just wanted to confirm if that's the only way to do that.
Sometimes something is the only way to do something, but we still don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my feeling with this thing.
If it doesn't break anything and there is no performance impact,
I didn't notice any performance impact. It only executes at the end of the last recipe step. I think it's harmless, and in this case,
the only thing is this thing, the events that changed, and so you are just what. So where is the events coming from? And it's like when I read the code, it's like you want to restart the shell.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening.
So you restart the shell?
Yeah.
When you do what? When you enable a new theme?
Yeah, whenever you whenever you stop or whenever you finish executing a recipe. A recipe gets executed, all of its steps are done, and after its last step, there's no more work to do. It will recycle or restart the shell, so that if in this case, because if you enable a theme, it needs to trigger a cache, signal a cache, so that it reloads the current theme or something like that.
When you say in the recipe, like in the in the admin, the new recipe tab?
Exactly. When you do it from there, and the recipe, for example, that's the use case here, it contains a activate theme, I think that's the command, then it will not kick in unless you recycle the application pool or restart your shell.
Okay, so it will be the same effect if we did enable from the, if we did the action manually, like
yes,
activate theme, it will still reload the shell, I assume.
Well, then it won't. It will just signal the cache because that happens in the same context. You do it from the UI. It doesn't. You don't do it as part of a recipe, so it happens in the same shell context, or in the same, in the same shell context. But when you do it as part of a recipe, it's a different context. So signaling the cache won't have any effect on the main context.
Okay, well, it's a recipe, it's not something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll create a branch and
just for the fun, create, just
exactly.
So we have a reason to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Daniel, you are in the meeting. Are you still there? Reopen your branch, please. You had one, I remember you created one just before we moved to Git. Oh no, just before we released 1.7. And I said, too late, dude, come back. So please come back now.
Yes. I will recreate this.
Yeah, the fix was easy and meaningful. Yep. You should still have your feature assigned to 1.7.1. There's one big issue I will work also. I have already started working on is the media library on Azure. So what happens if you use the blob storage and the media library? If you have tried it, because we generate thumbnails for the media items when you are in the media library page, and we generate them. Well, actually, the thumbnail is just a snippet of HTML loaded client side, which is actually the summary admin. And because the HTML is loaded client side and contains an image on a different domain, because it's on the blob storage, it won't allow the image to be loaded for security reasons. It's because blob storage doesn't handle CORS headers, cross origin request something. So it blocks the thumbnail. So if you are using Orchard on Azure right now, the media library displays empty thumbnails. Not only that, but I think you can't even in the media picker, in the media library picker. So that's sad. And because we don't know when CORS will be implemented in blob storage, even though they have said that, I think I will have to create a proxy controller on the module so that we can request locally, and the server will request the page on the blob storage. So the server will be a proxy for the admin. So it's safe because it's just for the admin and just in one page. It's not like all the images will be proxied by the server. But that's the only way to fix that right now. And I will push it soon. And in the meantime, I will also implement the Azure Blob Storage provider as a module, so we can use blob storage even on Azure websites. Okay, I've talked about that, I think, last week. I didn't check how much feedback we got for the design proposal of the deployment module announcement. Where is this? Where did I put it? Does anyone have the link? Deployment or staging, I don't remember. Yep, this one. Oh, okay, I have to. Yep, where's this one? No, this is not this one. Ah. Thank you. Okay, not so much new things. I will check. Yeah, and I will also start working on this. Yep. Questions? So, is everyone dead?
No, we're still.
Oh, Sipke is live. Are you in the US?
I am, yeah.
Okay. And you are not working. Okay. If I have time, I will do some triaging, but I like to be late on triage. 2 or 3 months. And I hope to release the bug fix and the Windows blob storage module very soon. So before we are done with this meeting? Nope. Okay. So see you next week.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Happy Git.
Bye bye.
Happy Git.
Don't break it. Don't break it the first week, please.
Okay. We'll see.
I have, but it's okay. I have good experts on my side. If there is an issue, I will ask them. See you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.